The last few hours of the World Economic Forum on Africa. Yesterday, my colleague Bronwyn Nielsen, CNBC Africa, of course, caught up with the CEO of the JSE Securities Exchange, and that's Nicky Newton-King. Here's that conversation.
There is a completely different narrative being discussed this week than, for instance, 5 years ago. Today, it's about Africans telling their stories, the things that are really happening. There's a real energy here, which I think is incredibly exciting. And so, yes, I do think things are starting to happen. There's honest discussion about the impediments. There are clear stories of success. And we need both of those in order to get to the next step. But you can actually start to measure the things happening across the continent and feel actually quite proud about what we're doing.
And across public and private partnerships, do you feel that traction starting to gain momentum?
Look, you can hear stories. All of us who are at that nexus of public and private partnership know that it takes time for those to work. But once again, there are stories there. But it does take time.
What about the Johannesburg Stock Exchange itself and your agenda? Is there merit in re-establishing an Africa exchange, for instance?
Our agenda on Africa is quite clear. I think we are not going to get to a situation of a single African exchange or a couple of regional giants. I think it's far more about let's cooperate across the continent to build up the status of all of the 24 exchanges that already exist on the continent. So it's about sharing technology. It's about cross-listing products so that you can get issuers with really good growth stories, access to big capital markets, investors an opportunity to buy into those. And then it's also about capacity building.
Is that cross-pollination of exchanges happening?
A lot.
In terms of what you're saying?
It is happening. It's happening at different levels. We, for instance, already run the Namibian Stock Exchange technology. We've pitched for another technology provision for one of the other African exchanges. We're talking to the Nigerian exchange about cross-listing ETFs. So it's happening. Is it happening at a sort of big balloon? No, it's not. But maybe it's actually appropriate that it takes its time, that we actually build the level of trust, and then we can actually go from that as a good basis.
What do you still find the biggest barrier to doing business in Africa?
I think it takes time. I think it's about making sure you have those relationships, that you walk a journey together. There isn't a magic formula.
All frontier markets are long-term investments.
They are all long-term investments, and it's not a homogeneous block. There are lots of, we all have the same aspirations, but we're all very different. So it's taking the time to understand what our differences are, and in fact to celebrate those differences, but to work to a common goal. And really that is about relationships. That's about a path to work together.
And personally, Nicky, do you find yourself doing deals at a function like the World Economic Forum?
Sometimes one does manage to do deals, but far more in these sorts of fora, it's about spending the time,
those long-term relationships,
spending the time with the individuals and getting to know them, and putting the stake in the ground for the next step.
Just finally, for the JSE, it's almost 6 months into the year. Can you believe it? What do the next 6 months hold for you?
We've got a lot on our agenda. We're moving to T+3, so we're doing our very first implementation of T+3, the whole program, very shortly. We've got a big technology discussion going with Treasury about their exchange-traded bond platform. We've got a lot of very exciting things on the go, and the team's very focused.